The impossible rescue. Ambassador Threkshin Vimir stood before the Galactic Council's obsidian podium, his crystalline wings trembling with barely contained frustration. The holographic display behind him showed an image that defied every known law of physics. A human vessel, the Meridian's Folly, hovering perfectly still inside the event horizon of a black hole. Esteemed council members, Threkshin began, his voice resonating through the vast chamber, I bring forth an urgent matter requiring immediate activation of Protocol 7. Council Matriarch Cylindra Kex, a being of pure energy contained within a gravitational field, pulsed with curiosity. Protocol 7 has not been invoked in 4,000 cycles, Ambassador. What justifies such measures? Humans, Threkshin said flatly. Specifically, Captain Alara Vex and her crew aboard the Meridian's Folly. A ripple of concern passed through the assembled delegates. The Jathurians shifted their gelatinous forms nervously. The Corventhi delegation clicked their mandibles in disapproval. Everyone knew about humans, the newest council species whose very existence seemed to mock the fundamental laws of reality. 3 solar cycles ago, Threkshin continued, projecting telemetry data, Captain Vex received a distress signal from within the Nexus Void, a Class Omega black hole. The signal originated from a Drethian research vessel that had been missing for 6 years. Impossible, interjected High Physicist Mornith Krill, his numerous eye stalks focusing intently on the data. Nothing survives beyond the event horizon. The Drethians would have been spaghettified within nanoseconds. I said the same thing, Threkshin replied. Captain Vex said, and I quote, that's adorable, but we're going in anyway. The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien languages, all expressing various degrees of disbelief and horror. Cylindra's energy field crackled, demanding silence. Continue, Ambassador. Against all my recommendations, Captain Vex piloted the Meridian's Folly directly toward the event horizon. Her human engineer, Marcus Drift, allegedly recalibrated their quantum field generators using something he called aggressive optimism and spite. That's not a scientific principle. Mornith protested. Tell that to the humans, Threkshin said bitterly. Because somehow, impossibly, they crossed the event horizon. And not only did they survive, they found the Drethian vessel, intact, with all 47 crew members alive in some kind of temporal bubble. The chamber fell silent. Such a thing couldn't exist. Shouldn't exist. How did they extract the survivors? Asked Prelate Zuin, her feathers ruffling with anxiety. Threkshin's wings drooped. According to Captain Vex's report, they gave it a good yank. Her tactical officer, Jace Navarro, apparently told the black hole, and again I quote, "You're not the boss of me," before firing the ship's tractor beams into the quantum foam itself. That should have torn their vessel apart at the molecular level, Mornith whispered. Should have, yes. Instead, they pulled the Drethian ship free, performed what Chief Medical Officer Iris Hale called reverse spaghettification therapy, and escaped the event horizon by, according to Engineer Drift, just gunning it really hard. Cylindra pulsed rapidly, the energy being's equivalent of a headache. Where are they now? That's why I'm here. Threkshin enlarged the hologram. The Meridian's Folly is currently parked inside the event horizon, approximately 60,000 kilometers from the singularity. Captain Vex claims they're having lunch and taking in the view. She invited me to join them. When I explained this was physically impossible, she responded that she'd add extra dessert to make it worth my while. This is exactly why Protocol 7 exists, Cylindra declared. Humans have once again demonstrated their complete disregard for physical law. What are the potential ramifications? Mornith manipulated the holographic data, his calculations appearing in glowing symbols. If other species attempt to replicate their methods, the casualties could number in the billions. We barely understand how they survive their own innovations. The humans themselves don't seem to understand it either. Captain Vex included a note in her report, Threkshin said quietly. She's writing a paper titled, Gravity, More Like Gravity Suggestions. She's planning to present it at the next Astrophysics Symposium. The council members exchanged glances, their various forms of body language all conveying the same sentiment, absolute dread. Very well, Cylindra announced. Protocol 7 is hereby activated. Ambassador Threkshin, you will form a specialized task force to monitor human activities and develop coping strategies. We must determine how they violate physics so consistently. And if we can't? Threkshin asked. Cylindra's energy field dimmed with resignation. Then we'll need to expand Protocol 7. Perhaps create Protocol 8, learning to accept that humans exist and physics must cope. As the council chamber emptied, Threction stared at the impossible image of the Meridian's Folly, safely nestled where nothing should survive, its crew probably arguing about sandwich toppings while reality quietly wept. The Committee of Concerned Scientists. 3 days after Protocol 7's activation, Ambassador Threction found himself in Conference Hall Zeta 9, surrounded by the galaxy's most brilliant minds, all of whom looked thoroughly defeated. Dr. Lissa Corvin, a Nebulan quantum theorist whose species had unlocked faster-than-light travel 12,000 years ago, gestured weakly at the holographic equations floating before her. I've spent 70 hours analyzing the Meridian's Folly sensor logs. According to every known principle of physics, that ship shouldn't exist anymore. It should be scattered across several dimensions with its atoms crushed into quantum foam. Did you find any explanation? Asked Professor Kalas Ren, a synthoid whose positronic brain could process calculations at speeds that would shame most planetary computers. Yes, Lissa said miserably. The human engineer's calibration notes. Would you like to hear them? The assembled scientists leaned forward eagerly. Step 1, ignore the warnings. Step 2, reverse the polarity of literally everything. Step 3, turn it up to 11. Step 4, if it explodes we went too far. Step 5, if it doesn't explode we didn't go far enough. Silence blanketed the room. That's not methodology, Kalas finally managed. Those aren't even instructions. That's barely coherent rambling. And yet, Threction interjected, entering the conference hall with a data tablet. It worked perfectly. I have an update and none of you will like it. He activated his tablet, projecting a new video feed. Captain Ilara Vex appeared, her dark hair pulled into a practical ponytail, her expression bright with enthusiasm that made every scientist in the room deeply uncomfortable. Hey there, council folks. Ilara waved cheerfully from inside the event horizon. Behind her, the impossible physics of the black hole's interior created rainbow-like distortions in spacetime. Just wanted to give you a quick update. We've set up a research station here. Turns out, the view from inside a black hole is spectacular. We're calling it Forward Operating Base Defiance. She named it Defiance, Lissa whispered in horror. Ilara continued, my science officer, Dr. Reyna Torch, has been running some fascinating experiments. Reyna, come show them. A woman with brilliant red hair and safety goggles appeared on screen, holding what appeared to be a cup of coffee. Hi everyone. So, we discovered that inside the event horizon, causality gets really weird. I poured this coffee 3 hours from now, but I'm drinking it right now and I'll pour it again yesterday. It's the freshest coffee I've ever had. That's not how time works. Mornith shouted at the screen. Also, Reyna added, we found out that if you throw a ball here it comes back to you before you throw it. We've been playing catch with ourselves for the past 2 days. It's amazing for team building. The video cut back to Captain Vex. Oh, and we've started offering tours. The Drethian crew we rescued wanted to stay and study the phenomenon. They're calling it the greatest scientific discovery of the millennia. We're thinking of making it a regular stop on the trade routes. Trade routes? Threction said, pausing the video. She wants to establish trade routes through a black hole. Can we simply forbid this? Asked Prelate Zuin, who had joined the committee as the council's official representative. Professor Kalas pulled up human legal agreements. According to the Treaty of Andromeda, which humans insisted on writing themselves, they have freedom of navigation through all cosmologically interesting regions. They specifically defined black holes as super interesting, and therefore protected under their exploratory rights. They wrote that protection into their own treaty? Lissa asked. They claimed they needed it for future recreational purposes, Kalas said. We thought they were joking. We're beginning to realize humans never joke about breaking physics. Threction resumed the video. One more thing, Ilara said, her smile widening. My navigator, Kale Thorne, figured out how to use the black hole's gravitational lensing as a communications relay. We can now send instant messages anywhere in the galaxy. We're calling it Black Hole Net. Patent pending. Impossible, Mornith muttered automatically, though his eye stalks drooped with the realization that impossible meant nothing anymore. Oh, and my weapons officer, Commander Soren Ash, discovered that if you fire a weapon into the singularity at the right angle, it comes out in the past. We're trying to figure out practical applications. Maybe we could deliver supplies to ourselves before we need them? The video ended with Ilara waving goodbye and the Meridian's Follies crew visible in the background, apparently having a barbecue in the gravitational distortion field. Esteemed colleagues, Threction said heavily, I believe we need to expand our committee. We're going to need xenopsychologists, reality stabilization experts, and possibly clergy from multiple faiths. Why clergy? Duane asked. Because, Lissa said, staring at her useless equations, we need someone who specializes in miracles. Science has clearly abandoned us. The Emergency Summit. The Emergency Physics Summit convened aboard the Neutral Station Convergence Prime, a massive orbital facility that served as the galaxy's center for scientific discourse. Over 300 scientists from 40 different species had gathered, all sharing one common trait: complete bewilderment. Ambassador Threction stood at the central podium, watching the chaos unfold. In one corner, a group of Vexillian mathematicians had torn up their textbooks and were attempting to rewrite fundamental theorems. Near the refreshment station, Corventhi engineers were arguing whether gravity was actually a suggestion rather than a law. Order. I demand order. Threction's voice boomed through the amplification system. The assembled scientists reluctantly quieted, though several continued muttering calculations under their breath. Thank you, Threction said. Now, I know you've all reviewed the data from the Meridian's Folly incident. I've brought someone who might help us understand what we're dealing with. Please welcome Dr. Zaros Ven, the Galactic Consortium's leading expert on human psychology. A tall, ethereal being materialized at the podium, a phase-walker who existed partially in another dimension which gave them unique insights into aberrant thought patterns. Thank you, Ambassador, Dr. Ven said, their voice echoing oddly. I've spent the last decade studying human behavior, and I believe I can explain what we're witnessing. Please, Dr. Lissa Corvin said desperately from the front row. Make it make sense. I cannot, Dr. Ven replied simply. Because humans don't operate on sense. They operate on something they call determination, gut feeling, and most dangerously, seeing what happens. Dr. Ven activated a holographic presentation showing various human innovations throughout their short council membership. When humans first achieved faster-than-light travel, they didn't understand the quantum mechanics involved. According to their records, engineer Marcus Drift's grandfather simply fiddled with the engine until it made a cool noise. That cool noise was the sound of spacetime tearing itself apart and then deciding to cooperate out of sheer confusion. That's not scientifically possible, protested a Drethian physicist. Correct. Yet here we are. Dr. Ven changed the image to show a human colony ship. When humans first encountered a quantum anomaly field that should have disintegrated their vessel, Captain Vex's predecessor, Captain Jana Ortiz, reportedly flew directly into it because, quote, it looked pretty. What happened? Someone called out. The anomaly field collapsed. Human ships now routinely pass through quantum anomaly fields by believing really hard that they'll make it through. The anomaly fields, faced with such overwhelming confidence, apparently give up and let them pass. Nervous laughter rippled through the chamber, though it held a note of hysteria. Dr. Ven's form flickered as they transitioned to another slide showing Captain Alara Vex's psychological profile. Captain Vex herself underwent standard psychological evaluation before joining the Council fleet. The evaluators noted she possesses something called weaponized optimism. When told something is impossible, her brain chemistry actually increases her determination to prove otherwise. That sounds like a mental disorder, observed a synthoid medical expert. By our standards, yes. By human standards, it's called being awesome. They have competitions about it. Professor Kalas Ren raised one of his metallic appendages. Dr. Ven, you're suggesting that humans succeed at impossible tasks through sheer psychological stubbornness? Not quite. Dr. Ven's form solidified as they leaned forward. I'm suggesting that humans have somehow convinced reality itself that stubbornness is a valid physical force. Observe. A new video played showing engineer Marcus Drift in the Meridian's Folly's engine room. He stood before a malfunctioning quantum core that was, according to all instruments, about to explode. Come on, baby, Marcus said, patting the core affectionately. You're not gonna blow up on me. We've been through too much together. The readouts showed the core's instability decreasing. I know you're tired, Marcus continued, but just give me 10 more minutes. Then I'll give you a full recalibration and we'll have a nice, quiet flight home. The core stabilized completely. The video ended. The summit chamber sat in stunned silence. That engineer, Dr. Lissa Corvin said slowly, just emotionally negotiated with a quantum field. Yes, Dr. Ven confirmed. Humans have been observed talking to their equipment, threatening it, encouraging it, and occasionally apologizing to it. Statistical analysis shows a 73% increase in equipment reliability when humans treat machinery as if it has feelings. But it doesn't have feelings. Mornath protested. Correct. It doesn't. Until humans interact with it. Then we're no longer certain. Ambassador Threction rubbed his temples. Dr. Venn, are you suggesting that humans are somehow making reality malleable through belief? No, Dr. Venn said. I'm suggesting that reality, when confronted with human confidence, occasionally decides the path of least resistance is to just let them win. A Nebulan scientist raised her hand. What do we do about this? Dr. Venn's form flickered uncertainly. Protocol 7 was designed to study and document impossible human achievements. I propose we add Protocol 7b, except that we'll never fully understand it. That's not scientific. Multiple voices protested simultaneously. Neither, Dr. Venn replied quietly, gesturing to the frozen image of Marcus Drift hugging a quantum core, is that the practical application disaster. 2 weeks after the emergency summit, Ambassador Threction received the message he'd been dreading. A group of Corventhi engineers, inspired by human methodology, had attempted to think positively at a malfunctioning jump gate. The jump gate had exploded. Threction now stood in Medical Bay 7 aboard Convergence Prime, staring at 17 bandaged Corventhi who looked significantly less confident than before their experiment. Let me understand this correctly, Threction said, his wings twitching with suppressed anger. You saw Engineer Drift talk to a quantum core and you decided to replicate the technique? Chief Engineer Vaxkel, his mandibles clicking nervously, nodded. We followed the human methodology precisely. We told the jump gate we believed in it. We encouraged it. We even threatened it. And then it exploded. Violently. Dr. Lissa Corvin, who had been called in to consult, examined the wreckage data on her tablet. The energy signature shows the gate didn't just malfunction, it seems to have taken offense. I've never seen a machine take offense before. Humans are somehow doing something we're not, Threction muttered. But what? His communicator chimed. Captain Ilara Vex's face appeared on the screen, and behind her, Threction could see the impossible vista of the black hole's interior, now somehow looking more comfortable with furniture and decorative plants. Hey, Ambassador. Heard about the Corventhi incident. Everyone okay? Mostly pride damage, Threction replied. Captain, we need your help. Your methods work for humans, but when others try them, disasters occur. Why? Ilara's brow furrowed thoughtfully. She turned her head and called out, Marcus, can you come here a sec? Engineer Marcus Drift entered the frame, wiping grease from his hands. His unkempt brown hair stuck out at odd angles, and he wore a t-shirt that read, I violate physics and physics likes it. What's up, Cap? The Corventhi tried to talk to a machine like you do. It exploded. Explain why that doesn't happen to you. Marcus scratched his head. Well, you gotta mean it. Like really mean it. I don't just talk at the machines, I talk to them. There's a difference. That makes no sense, Threction said. Sure it does. Look, when I'm working on the quantum core, I'm not just saying nice words. Marcus paused, struggling to articulate. I'm connecting with it. Feeling its vibrations. Understanding its stress points. It's like jazz but with engineering. Dr. Lissa leaned into Threction's view. Are you suggesting you're empathizing with non-sentient machinery? Empathizing is a strong word, Marcus said. I'm more like vibing with it. You know when you walk into a room and you can feel the atmosphere? Machines have atmospheres too. You gotta respect that. Machines don't have atmospheres, Dr. Lissa insisted. Not with that attitude they don't, Marcus replied cheerfully. Another voice joined the conversation. Dr. Raina Torch appeared beside Marcus, still holding her impossibly timed coffee. I think I can explain this better. We humans have something called suspension of disbelief. We use it for entertainment. We watch stories about impossible things and accept them as real for the duration. We're familiar with fictional narratives, Threction said. Right, but humans don't just use it for fiction. We accidentally use it for reality too. Raina sipped her coffee that she'd pour tomorrow. When Marcus talks to a machine, he's not being metaphorical. He's genuinely treating it as if it might respond. And somewhere in his brain, he's suspended his disbelief about whether that's possible. That's just delusion, Dr. Lissa protested. Is it? Raina countered. Or is it functional optimism? Marcus doesn't know for certain that talking to the core won't help, so he tries it anyway. And because he truly believes there's even a 0.1% chance it might work, he acts accordingly. But the Corventi believed too. Marcus shook his head. No, they didn't. Not really. They tried to copy what they saw me doing, but they didn't commit. You can't fake commitment. The universe knows when you're faking. The universe isn't sentient. Threction snapped. Maybe not, Ilara interjected, but it is consistent. And humans have learned that consistency can be negotiated with if you're confident enough. Threction felt a headache forming, despite lacking the traditional biology for headaches. So your success rate is based on authenticity? Basically, Marcus agreed. Also spite. Spite is a powerful motivator. When someone says something's impossible, that just makes me want to do it more. Navigator Cale Thorne's voice echoed from somewhere off-screen. Don't forget stubbornness. We're incredibly stubborn. That too, Ilara confirmed. Look, Ambassador, I think the problem is that other species are trying to copy our techniques without understanding the mindset. We don't succeed because we're special. We succeed because we genuinely refuse to accept failure as permanent. Every species refuses to accept failure, Threction argued. No, Reyna said quietly. Every species accepts that some things are impossible and moves on. Humans hear impossible and think not yet. Threction looked at Dr. Lissa, who appeared equally troubled. So Protocol 7 needs an addendum, Threction said finally. Human methods only work for humans because humans are the only species delusional enough to make them work? Delusional is such a negative word, Marcus said. We prefer creatively optimistic. The communication ended, leaving Threction and Dr. Lissa staring at the star-filled void beyond the medical bay's viewport. This doesn't solve our problem, Dr. Lissa said. No, Threction agreed. But at least now we know why trying to solve it might make it worse. The bureaucratic nightmare. Council Matriarch Cylindra Kex reviewed the mounting stack of incident reports with growing dismay. In the 6 weeks since Protocol 7's activation, human activities had generated more paperwork than the previous century combined. Ambassador Threction stood before her, looking equally exhausted. Tell me about the Nebulan incident, Cylindra requested, her energy field pulsing a tired amber. Threction consulted his tablet. 3 Nebulan physicists attempted to recreate human aggressive optimism by shouting encouragement at a failing star drive. The drive interpreted the sonic vibrations as hostile and shut down completely. The synthoid situation? 5 synthoid scientists tried to reprogram their positronic brains to think more human. They accidentally gave themselves the electronic equivalent of existential crises and are currently in therapy, questioning whether math is real. Cylindra dimmed considerably. And yesterday's disaster with the Vexillian research team? They attempted to ignore a hostile plasma field the way humans seem to ignore danger warnings. The plasma field did not appreciate being ignored and became significantly more hostile. How many injuries? 17. All superficial, but the plasma field has now been classified as offended and refuses to respond to standard containment procedures. Before Cylindra could respond, alarms blared throughout the council chamber. Security Chief Mordak's voice boomed over the intercom. Code Crimson. Human vessel approaching at impossible velocity. The chamber's main viewscreen activated, showing the Meridian's Folly traveling at speeds that made the sensors emit error messages. The ship wasn't using quantum drives or conventional propulsion. According to the readouts, it was moving by really wanting to get there fast. The vessel decelerated instantly, violating every principle of inertia, and docked with Convergence Prime in under 30 seconds. Minutes later, Captain Ilara Vex strode into the council chamber with her full senior crew. She looked concerned, which Threction had learned was infinitely more alarming than when she looked cheerful. Matriarch Cylindra, we have a problem, Ilara announced without preamble. Only one? Cylindra asked dryly. We heard about the other species trying to copy our methods. You need to stop them immediately. Threction blinked in surprise. You're asking us to stop scientific research? Commander Soren Ash, the Meridian's Follies weapons officer, a stern woman with silver-streaked hair and numerous combat medals, stepped forward. Not research. Reckless imitation. What we do looks easy because we've been doing it our whole lives. We've been ignoring warnings and defying odds since we were children. It's culturally ingrained, added Dr. Reyna Torch. Human children literally play games where they pretend the floor is lava. We train ourselves from infancy to operate on impossible premises. Medical Officer Iris Hale, a composed woman with kind eyes and steady hands, pulled up medical data. More importantly, humans have specific psychological defense mechanisms. When we do something dangerous, our brains release chemicals that enhance focus and suppress fear. Other species don't have those same mechanisms. We've reviewed the incident reports, Elara continued. The Corventi explosion? They were terrified while trying to mimic confidence. Fear and confidence create opposite biochemical states. The machine sensed the incongruence. Marcus Drift nodded enthusiastically. It's like how you can't fake being relaxed. The harder you try to relax, the more tense you get. You can't fake genuine belief in success. Tactical Officer Jace Navarro, a quiet man who rarely spoke but was rumored to have nerves of steel, finally contributed, humans have a saying, fake it till you make it. But even that requires believing you will eventually make it. Other species are trying to fake it while believing they'll fail. This is madness, Threction muttered. No, Elara corrected gently. It's human. There's a difference. And that difference is why you can't teach our methods to species who don't have our particular brand of irrational confidence. Cylindra's energy field swirled thoughtfully. Captain Vex, are you suggesting that human abilities are biologically unique? Psychologically unique, Reyna clarified. Our evolutionary history rewarded risk-taking. Humans who saw a dangerous animal and thought, I could befriend that, or, I bet I could ride that, survived through sheer audacity more often than they should have. Your species befriended wolves, Threction recalled from his xenoanthropology studies. Apex predators. For companionship. We also domesticated murder birds and called them chickens, Marcus added proudly. Cale Thorne, the navigator, brought up a holographic timeline. Every major human advancement came from someone ignoring warnings. Fire? Dangerous, but we grabbed it anyway. Agriculture? Everyone said we couldn't control nature. Space travel? Statistically suicidal in early attempts. We survived, Elara said simply, because we're too stubborn to die and too curious to stop trying. That's not a technique. That's genetic trauma expressed as ambition. The council chamber fell silent as the implications settled in. So you're saying, Cylindra said slowly, that Protocol 7 must include a restriction. Human methods are species exclusive because attempting them without human psychology is actively dangerous? Exactly, Elara confirmed. Look, we're happy to share our discoveries and innovations. But the process of how we discover them? That's not shareable. It's hardwired into our survival instincts. Threction felt oddly relieved. This actually makes our job easier. We can classify human methodology as biologically restricted. There's one more thing, Iris Hale said quietly. We need to establish human-led safety protocols for high-risk operations. We can be your disaster specialists. Disaster specialists? Cylindra questioned. Commander Soren smiled grimly. When something goes wrong enough that normal species would evacuate, call us. We're the ones who run toward explosions, not away from them. That's horrifying, Threction said. That's humanity, Elara replied. We might as well make it official. The protocol revision. 3 months after the emergency summit, Ambassador Threction stood before the Galactic Council once more, this time with a completely revised Protocol 7 document. The changes were extensive. Council members, Threction began, after significant research, consultation, and several more impossible incidents, we present the updated Protocol 7, comprehensive guidelines for human-related anomalies and specialized applications. He activated the holographic display, showing the new framework. Section 1. Recognition that human capabilities stem from unique psychological and cultural factors that cannot be safely replicated by other species. All previous attempts to copy human methods are hereby classified as hazardous imitation events and are strictly prohibited. Prelate Ziwen raised her feathered hand. Ambassador, does this mean we're acknowledging that humans operate under different physical laws? No, Threction replied carefully. We're acknowledging that humans have found exploits in universal laws that require specific mental states to access. Like a password written in a language only they speak fluently. Dr. Lissa Corvin, now the Council's chief human liaison scientist, stepped forward. Think of it like music. A symphony requires precise timing, harmony, and rhythm. If you play the notes incorrectly, you get noise. Humans have somehow learned to play reality symphony in a key the rest of us can't hear. That's oddly poetic, observed Mornith Krill. I've been spending too much time with humans, Lissa admitted. I caught myself telling my lab equipment it was doing great yesterday. Threction continued. Section 2. Establishment of human crisis response teams. Captain Vex and other human specialists will be on standby for emergency situations deemed too dangerous for conventional intervention. On cue, the view screen activated, showing Captain Elara Vex and her crew aboard the Meridian's Folly, which was now, somehow, parked comfortably halfway inside a nebula that should have torn the ship apart. "Reporting for duty," Elara said cheerfully. "We've set up forward operating base Defiance 2 inside the Crimson Nebula. Turns out, if you believe hard enough, stellar gas becomes breathable." "Who knew?" "It's not breathable," Mornath protested reflexively. "Not with that attitude," Marcus Drift called from the background, visibly breathing the stellar gas while repairing a console. Cylindra's energy field pulsed in what Threction had learned to recognize as resigned acceptance. "Captain Vex, your team's official designation will be Rapid Response Unit Alpha. You'll respond to disasters, impossible rescues, and situations where conventional physics has taken a holiday." "Love it," Elara said. "We've already got assignments lined up. The Drethian researchers from the Black Hole want to study a quantum paradox field next week. We're taking them." "Please don't," Threction begged. "Already loaded the equipment. We're calling it the Field Trip of Destiny." Threction closed his eyes and counted to 10 in 3 different languages. "Section 3, he continued tiredly, Human Safety Advisories. All Council species are hereby advised that when humans say something is probably fine, they mean they're going to do it regardless of your opinion. When they say, hold my beverage, immediate evacuation is recommended." This drew nervous laughter from the assembled Council members who had learned this lesson the hard way. "We've also compiled a human phrase translation guide," Dr. Lissa added, pulling up a document that made several Council members lean forward with interest. The holographic display showed human phrase actual meaning. "This should work. They have no idea if it will work. Trust me. Do not trust them. I've got this. Nobody has this. What could go wrong? Everything will go wrong. Just give it a sec. Evacuate immediately. I've seen this in a movie. Pray to your preferred deities." "This is incredibly useful," Prelate Zuen admitted, taking notes. Section 4, Threction announced, Human Innovation Quarantine Zones. When humans develop new technology, it will undergo testing in designated areas far from populated systems. "Already ahead of you," Elara interjected. "We've established Innovation Station 1 in the empty sector. If something explodes, there's literally nothing there to damage." "When something explodes," Threction corrected. "Your pessimism is noted and ignored," Elara replied cheerfully. Tactical Officer Jace Navarro appeared on screen, his expression serious. "Ambassador, we understand the Council's concerns. We've developed our own internal safety protocols. Every human vessel now has a probably too far indicator that alerts us when we're about to do something even we think is dangerous." "How often does it activate?" asked Mornath. "Daily," Jace admitted. "We're working on our self-control." "They're not," Dr. Reyna Torch's voice echoed from off-screen. "They're absolutely not working on it." Cylindra pulsed with a mixture of amusement and despair. "Final question, Ambassador Threction. After all this research, study, and revision, can you explain how humans accomplish their impossibilities?" Threction paused, considering his words carefully. "No," he said finally. "But I can explain what we've learned. Humans succeed not despite their recklessness, but because of their unique combination of curiosity, stubbornness, and selective hearing regarding the word impossible. They don't break the laws of physics, they negotiate with them through sheer force of personality." "Also spite," Marcus called out helpfully. "Also spite," Threction confirmed. "So much spite." The Council voted unanimously to approve the revised Protocol 7, though Threction noticed several members looked like they were voting more out of exhausted acceptance than actual approval. As the session ended, Elara's voice came through one last time. "Hey Ambassador? We're thinking of exploring inside a star next month. Want to come?" "Absolutely not," Threction replied. "Your loss. We're bringing snacks." The view screen went dark, leaving Threction with the certain knowledge that in 1 month, he'd be filing another impossible incident report. Some things he realized even protocols couldn't prevent. The test case. 6 weeks after Protocol 7's revision, it faced its first real test. A Nebulan colony ship, the Celestial Harmony, had suffered catastrophic drive failure while approaching a collapsing star system. 3,000 colonists had 18 hours before gravitational forces would tear their ship apart. Every conventional rescue option had failed. Ambassador Threction stood in the Convergence Prime Emergency Command Center, watching disaster unfold in real time. Around him, the galaxy's best crisis management teams worked frantically to find a solution that didn't exist. Gravitational stress is increasing exponentially, reported a synthoid analyst. The celestial harmony's hull will breach in 17 hours, 14 minutes. All nearby vessels? Threction asked. Too far out. Even at maximum quantum drive, no one can reach them in time. Cylindra's energy field materialized beside Threction, pulsing with urgency. Ambassador, I'm invoking Protocol 7, Section 4, Human Crisis Response. Threction felt his crystalline wings droop with relief and dread in equal measure. Activate emergency beacon for Rapid Response Unit Alpha. The response came in 47 seconds. This is Captain Vex. Ilara's voice filled the command center, calm and confident. We received the distress call. Send us the coordinates and all available data. Captain, the situation is dire, Threction explained, rapidly transmitting information. The celestial harmony is caught in a collapsing star's gravity well. Their drives are offline. No ship can reach them in time. You're right, Ilara replied. No conventional ship can reach them. Pause. Threction knew that pause. It meant humans were about to do something inadvisable. Captain? Cylindra prompted. Marcus, can we make it? Ilara's voice, slightly muffled, clearly asking her engineer. Oh, absolutely not. Marcus Drift's reply was enthusiastic despite the words. Which means we're definitely doing it. Give me 8 minutes to recalibrate the quantum drive for what I'm calling maximum stupidity mode. Reyna, calculate a hyperspace jump directly into a collapsing star's gravity well, Ilara ordered. That's impossible, Dr. Reyna Torch responded. The gravitational interference will scatter our quantum signature across. You know what? I've stopped questioning these things. Calculating impossible trajectory now. Kale, I need you to plot a course that physics will hate, Ilara continued. Physics already hates us, Navigator Kale Thorne replied. What's a little more? Threction listened to the organized chaos of the Meridian's Follies Bridge with a mixture of terror and hope. Captain Vex, Cylindra interjected. You're proposing to jump directly into a collapsing star system? Not proposing. Doing. The Celestial Harmony has 3,000 people aboard. That's 3,000 reasons to ignore the word impossible. Commander Soren Ash's voice joined the communication. Matriarch, we've successfully extracted people from a black hole, parked inside a nebula, and yesterday Marcus convinced a malfunctioning reactor to repair itself by promising it a vacation. A collapsing star is just Tuesday. It's Thursday, Threction corrected weakly. Even better. Thursday's our lucky day. You don't have lucky days, protested Dr. Lissa Corvin, who had joined the command center. Not with that attitude we don't, came Iris Hale's cheerful response. Medical Bay is prepped for mass evacuation. We'll fit 3,000 colonists if we believe we will. Your ship has capacity for 300. Lissa objected. Had capacity for 300, Medical Officer Iris corrected. Marcus redesigned the internal space last week using what he calls aggressive geometry. We're now partially four-dimensional. Don't ask me to explain it. The command center watched as the Meridian's Follies position marker began moving on the holographic display, moving at speeds that made the tracking system glitch. Quantum jump in 3, 1. Kale's countdown ended with a flash of impossible light. The Meridian's Folly appeared directly beside the Celestial Harmony, inside the collapsing star system, in a region of space where jump drives couldn't possibly function. Hey there, Celestial Harmony, Ilara's voice came through, now broadcasting on emergency frequencies. This is Captain Ilara Vex of the Meridian's Folly. Sorry we're late, had to convince space-time to make an exception. Beginning evacuation procedures. What followed was the most efficient disaster response Threction had ever witnessed. The human crew moved with practiced precision, but it was their attitude that made the difference. They didn't act like they were performing an impossible rescue. They acted like they were helping neighbors move furniture. Come on aboard. Marcus's voice echoed through the connection. Watch your step, gravity's a bit weird in Section 4. We're still negotiating with it. Children first. Iris's calm, commanding voice directed traffic. Don't worry about the glowing walls, that's just quantum instability. It's friendly quantum instability. This way to the evacuation deck, Jace Navarro's steady presence guided panicking colonists. Stay calm. We've done this before. Not this exact thing but close enough. 17 hours became 12 as the human crew worked. Then 9 hours. Then 6. Captain Reyna reported, the star's collapse is accelerating. We have maybe 40 minutes before the gravity well becomes truly inescapable. Then we work faster, Ilera responded simply. How many colonists left? 400. Double-time people. Soren, I need those tractor beams pulling survivors at maximum capacity. Marcus, convince our engines they can do more than they're designed for. Already on it. Marcus's voice carried his signature enthusiasm. I'm using aggressive encouragement and moderate threats. The command center watched in awe as the impossible rescue continued. Nebulan colonists streamed aboard the Meridian's Folly, which somehow, impossibly, accommodated all of them despite spatial constraints that should have made it impossible. Last colonist aboard. Iris finally announced. 3,000 souls accounted for. Kale, get us out of here, Ilera ordered. One problem, Cap. The gravity well is now strong enough that jumping out should be impossible. Should be. Yeah, should be. Which means probably isn't. Engaging quantum drive. The Meridian's Folly vanished from the collapsing star system, reappearing safely in normal space with 3,300 people aboard, 3,000 colonists and 300 crew, all alive, all safe, and all completely bewildered by what had just happened. Except the humans who were already discussing what to have for dinner. Threction stared at the display showing the successful rescue, then looked at Cylindra. Protocol 7 works, he said quietly. Because humans don't know how to fail, Cylindra replied, her energy field pulsing with something that might have been respect or might have been existential resignation. They simply refused the option. Later, in his quarters, Threction updated the official council records. Protocol 7 Addendum. Humans ignore physics not because they don't understand it, but because they understand that understanding is negotiable. They treat the impossible as merely improbable, and the improbable as just inconvenient. They are, in essence, reality's most persistent haggling partners. They save lives not despite their recklessness, but because their recklessness is tempered by an unshakable commitment to protecting others. They'll break every law of physics to save a single life, and somehow physics lets them. Recommendation: stop trying to explain it. Start being grateful for it. Addendum to addendum: keep emergency chocolate supplies on hand. Humans work better with snacks, and if they're going to keep rescuing everyone in the galaxy, the least we can do is feed them properly. Threction closed the report, watching through his viewport as the Meridian's Folly departed, already heading toward their next impossible adventure. Protocol 7 was no longer just a document. It was an acceptance that in a universe governed by laws, humanity had somehow negotiated an exemption, and they used that exemption to save everyone else. Even if it gave him a permanent headache. Especially because it gave him a permanent headache. But he wouldn't have it any other way.